Hi, welcome to the 15th Jukebox on the 2nd of August, 15th of these request shows that I've been doing from my house and more lately from my chalet in the garden. And these are songs that you've requested on my Facebook page or Instagram, and I just the latest one we've called the infamous five because I wanted to try and do some of the lesser known songs, and you've come forward with your requests. Thank you. And this first one is a song for Ron Davies, my lovely friend Ron and his family. And this is a song called On Roslyn Banks, and this comes from a long time ago when I was I think I wrote this when I was playing the Edinburgh Festival way back, and it comes from an album called Short Stories, which I recorded in 2004. And the story with this song was I went to Roslyn Chapel. I went with some Scottish friends to visit Roslyn Chapel, which is a chapel between Glasgow and Edinburgh, and purportedly the place where at one time the Holy Grail was kept. I don't know the full story, but so we thought we'd go and have a look. And that time you could actually go. I remember it was covered in scaffolding. I think the roof had fallen in or something. So it was a bit of a wreck, and you could just walk around. I vaguely remember there being a little kind of tea shop or just a stall with somebody selling teas and cakes and tea and cakes and postcards, and you could buy a little postcard, and that was it really. And then much more recently I was up in Scotland touring, and I thought I'd go and have another look, and now it's got this magnificent, and I say the word advisedly, invitation centre or whatever you call it, and I didn't even go in because it upset me so much that they'd kind of turned it into a paid deal where you just have to pay a load of money to go in now, and it's chock-a-block with tourists, and good for the conservation, the preservation of the chapel. I've got nothing against that, but it just spoils the whole thing for me. If you've got to charge, then charge, but why do they have to turn them into these these museums of museum shops, concessions, and I don't know, but I was naughty and I snuck round the back. I managed to find a way back into the garden so you could actually look up through the windows and you could see the lovely stained glass. It's some amazing stuff. I mean, it's worth seeing. I wouldn't put you off going to have a look, but it just pissed me off a bit that they have to do that to places, and there are other more sympathetic ways of preserving them than turning them into franchises, but maybe not. Anyway, the other thing about the chapel that struck me was I went down and I walked down from chapel, and there was a river, probably called the River Roslyn, I don't know, but there was a river, and in the bank of the river I noticed a cave, or a couple of caves actually, and I was told that was the cave where Robert the Bruce hid, and not only that, but it was a place where he had his spider experience. Robert the Bruce was supposed to have, he was fleeing from the English army, and I could be completely wrong here, but he was fleeing from somebody. Robert the Fleer was fleeing, and he hid, and he holed up in this cave, and he saw a spider making a web, and the spider kept falling from the web, but it kept crawling back up again and making again and falling and up and up. Hence the phrase, if at first you don't succeed, try again. So, and Robert did. This inspired him to go and once more into battle and into victory. So that's where the song comes from, On Roslyn Banks. On Roslyn Banks she held me close. The night came gently round, and through the trees a soft rain fell, and the silver moon looked down. She said it was the evening's chill that made her hold me so, but in my heart I knew it was that I'd be gone tomorrow. The water sang a wishful song. I wished our hearts were one. She said, why not if I would stay and finish what I'd begun? But promise not what you can't give. She begged me to confess that I was sworn to another love and could not answer yes. Above these pranks a brave man wept, and there addressed his pain. Faced with defeat he made a vow to try and try again. And as I kissed the sweetest lips, I searched for truth in vain, and fearing she might love me less, I lied and lied again. Now Roslyn Banks are a memory, and she is far away. I pray she'll hold me close again at the close of some sweet day. This next song was requested by Liz Kentish and John, and this is called Lovesick Johnny, and this is just a story I made up in the old folk style. There was no real event to inspire this, but I remember at the time I was working with Jess Vincent, a young folk singer, singer-songwriter from Bradford on Avon, and she, we were doing shows together. I was producing her album, and I was halfway through this song, and I showed it to Jess, and I just thought she had a different take on songs to me. Her influences being very different, being half my age, And so I played a song to her, and I said, I'm kind of stuck with this. And she looked at it, and she said, I think I know what's wrong with this song. She said. I said, well, what is it? She said, not enough death in it. She said, it's a folk song. There's got to be a body count. So I said, well, you know, do what you think. And this is what we ended up with. And so this is our co-write, and Jess introduced the death into Lovesick Johnny, and this is it. This is what we ended up with, and we recorded it on my album. England Green, England Grey, I think this one's on, and so here you are. This is our folk song by me and Jess Vincent. It's called Lovesick Johnny. Sally, you're the one I love. Sally, you're the one I love. Where'd you stay last night? Where'd you stay last night? Sally, my love. Went down to the sailor's bar. Down to the sailor's bar, Johnny, Johnny, thought I'd find you there. Thought I'd find you there, Johnny, my love. I was drinking in the Port Hotel, Sally. I was drinking in the Port Hotel, Sally, Sally, the captain's man was there. The captain's man was there, talking about his new love. Johnny, you're the one I love, Johnny. Johnny, you're the one I love, handsome Johnny. I'm not the captain's girl. I'm not the captain's girl. Did not stay with him. Sally, don't you hide from me, Sally. Sally, don't you lie to me, cruel Sally. I'll shoot the man behind your door. I'll shoot your captain. Shoot the man behind your door. Sally, you'll be my love. Johnny, why are you so cruel? Johnny, Johnny, why are you so cruel, handsome Johnny, shoot me through the door, shoot me through the wooden door, Johnny, my love. Captain's man comes in, they're hanging Johnny. The captain's man comes in, lovesick Johnny. Captain says, poor girl, poor sweet Sally, pours himself a drink, his arms round his new love. Hi, welcome to the 15th request show. This next song is requested by Gill, and it's Martha Went Down to the Well. And it's a story of Martha and Roger, two star-crossed lovers of Bowes in County Durham. And I played up there, I played in Bowes, and I stayed with Cliff, a local historian, who told me this story about because the house that he lived in was one of the old boys' schools. The other one was Do the Boys Hall, or became known as Do the Boys Hall, as in the Charles Dickens story Nicholas Nickleby, because Dickens went to Bowes to investigate the phenomena of the boys' schools, and so Cliff's house was one of them. But previous to that, it was the house of Roger's family, and Roger was a I should get this the right way round. I think Roger was from the wealthy family, and his girlfriend Martha was from downstairs, below stairs, and so Roger lived in his house. He fell in love with Martha, and they were young. I think they were only about 16 at the time, and but Roger's family forbade their courtship, and for this reason Roger sickened, and eventually he ran away from home, ended up on the moors, and caught presumably pneumonia, also got ill anyway, and came back, was brought back to the house, Cliff's house, where he eventually died after the sister allowed Martha to come and visit, but wouldn't let her touch Roger, and generally wasn't happy about Martha coming around. And then Martha, distraught, heartbroken, within a week, supposedly on the day that the bells of Bowes rang for Roger's funeral, she heard the pealing of the bells, and then she fell down dead in the street, and was this was witnessed by a local who somehow ascertained that she was dying of a broken heart. Whether she said this or not, I don't know, but she died, and they were then buried together. And I discovered this story when I went to the churchyard, because when I found out that Do the Boys Hall, as in Nicholas Nickleby, was nearby, I thought I'd have a look in the churchyard to see if there was any evidence of infant deaths, whether these kids were mistreated or not, as Dickens suggested, and I found the grave of Martha and Roger, and I noticed they had different surnames, so I thought it was unusual for there to be a joint grave of two young people with different surnames. So this is the story, and this is why. And then after I'd written the song, I was invited back to play in Bowes. And the second time I played there, I played in the village hall in a different venue. And somebody told me, it must have been the promoter, told me that the hall was actually over the well, the original well, where Martha and Roger used to meet, hence the title of the song, Martha Went Down to the Well. So this is a story. There was a poem written about this, and I think in the poem their names are changed. I believe it's called Edwin and Emma. The tragedy of the Bowes tragedy. That's it. Anyway, this is my version of the story. Martha Went Down to the Well. Martha went down to the well, where her love lay sleeping. His coat was torn, his skin was pale, his face was stained with weeping. She woke him up with a tender kiss and asked why he was grieving. He said, they'll never let us be, and so I must be leaving. For your true love I'm leaving. But tell me, love, why you must go. What have I done to hurt you? What is it here that grieves you so? Why can't my love hold you? He closed his eyes and he saw his father's face so red from screaming. That working girl won't be your bride. That's just a poet's dreaming and a young girl's idle scheming. She walked him home, and on the way his sister she lay waiting. You callous boy, you selfish boy, your mother's heart is breaking. To Martha then she raised her hand, saying, you must go and leave him. He's the apple of his father's eye, and you are far beneath him. Go, stupid girl, and leave him. All that night he stayed away, and 6 nights more was missing. They found him on the windswept moor, death's icy hands around him. They brought him to his father's house, on silken sheets they laid him, and with his failing breath he prayed for Martha to come see him, and death's cold hands to free him. Then Martha uninvited came to where her love was lying. The orange for his milk-white skin, and comfort in his dying. His sister sat at his deathbed, and would not let her near him. But with his final breath he sighed, I'll hold you close come evening, and only she could hear him. She stumbled through the empty streets and heard the death bell tolling. Weak with fear and blind with grief, she gave in to the falling. A passing stranger caught her there, I hear death's angel calling, and life by grief is freed from me, and my poor heart is broken since my true love was taken. Martha went down to the well, to where her love lay sleeping. This next song is a song from my song cycle, 12 Silk Handkerchiefs, which I toured last year. The story is the story of the Hull triple trawler disaster of 1968, in which 58 men lost their lives. And this inspired Lillian Belocca, a local woman, fishwoman, to lobby Parliament and to campaign to get more safety for her, the men. And she went down with her 3 friends. They went down to Parliament, and they were very successful in what they managed to achieve. And this kind of changed the fishing industry. Not for long, unfortunately, because the fishing industry folded not long after that. But certainly those last few years were much safer than they had been up to that point, in which 6,000 men had lost their lives. So Big Lil, as she was known locally, did a wonderful job. And Brian Lavery, a Scottish author from Glasgow, who now resident in Hull, wrote a book called the Headscarf Revolutionaries, because the women, when they went down to Parliament, they put their headscarves on, and that was how they turned up. And so Brian named them the Headscarf Revolutionaries, wrote this book, and it's from that book that I got the title, I got the story. And I met Brian and Mick McGarry, a local legendary shanty singer in Hull, and Sam Martin, a wonderful folk singer, also resident of Hull. The 4 of us created this show, which I called 12 Silk Handkerchiefs. And this song I'm going to play from the series is called Sleep You Safely. And it's the story of Lil at the end of the campaign. The local people formed a committee, and they chose to leave Lil out of the committee. So there was various reasons behind this, and you can, if you look more into the show, you can find out the reasons why she was kind of ostracized at the end by a lot of the people. So this is the story of her making her way home alone after the committee meeting in which she was left out, and meeting a young cabin boy who was a decky learner, as they called, on his first day out, his first trip out on the ships. And if you do want to know more about this show, then you can tune in to the Yorkshire Festival of Stories on the 6th of August. The Yorkshire Festival of Stories takes place throughout the whole of August. And on the Thursdays, every Thursday evening, they hold a folk club. And the first one, which will be the 6th of August. The first show on the 6th of August will be our 12 Silk Handkerchiefs. It's an edited version of the entire show, with us on stage up at the Whitby Musicport Festival. The 4 of us, with Brian narrating, me, Sam, and Mick playing, and so you'll get the most of it. And then there's a Q&A afterwards, a live Q&A with me and Brian. In order to listen to this, you need to sign on. It's free. Something for nothing, unlike Rosalind Banks, the aforementioned Rosalind Chapel. You can sign on free, but you do have to go to the website, the Yorkshire Festival of Story website, or you can go to my website, regmeuross.com, or you can find it on Facebook on my Reg Meuross music page, and you can sign up there, link in. The show only remains online for 24 hours, so you do need to do it on that Thursday or the following 24 hours. So and then on the 20th of August, I'll be doing a solo show, also as part of the festival. So look out for that. 20th of August, same routine. You have to sign on, and then on that night, I'll be doing story-based songs, my own songs, story-based songs, in a 1 hour special. So there you go. So this is a song from that show, 12 Silk Handkerchiefs, requested by Matthew, and it's called Sleep You Safely. The Yorkshire night was freezing, the ice beneath her feet, as Lily waited quietly in the cold. Her headscarf wrapped around her, her blue coat buttoned neatly, Lily cast a shadow long on Hazel Road. The galley boy approached her, his kit bag on his back. Beneath the street lights Lily saw his eyes. I saw you on the TV, he stammered as he spoke. She'd seen that first time fear so many times. She held him in her big strong arms and raised him off his feet. Be safe now for your sweetheart, for your mom and dad and me. Be sure your ship is true, she said. Be sure your ship is right, and sleep you safely in the ocean's arms tonight. Too many of our men are gone, said Lil beneath her breath. And as the boy walked on, she quietly prayed. She'd fought them in the halls, in London town and in the press, so the wives would know their menfolk would be saved. Not all the wives stood with her, not all the men agreed, but Lily spoke for right without a fuss. And when the crowds in victory cried, Lily, come with me, Lily slipped into the night and caught the bus. And through her quiet, sad city, dark windows etched in black, Lily mouthed a silent prayer to bring the young men back. Be sure your ship is true, she said. Be sure your ship is right, and sleep you safely in the ocean's arms tonight. Sleep you safely in the ocean's arms tonight. Hi, this next song is from the December album, and it's a song requested by Alice up in Vanessa Way. I hope you're watching this, Alice. I know that you don't get Facebook, but you requested this on Instagram, so hopefully you've been directed to YouTube to watch this. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. It's good to see you. I guess we'll probably be back here again next week all the good Lord willing and the creek don't rise, as Hank would say. So we'll finish off with this one today. It's again, it doesn't have any real story except I know I was driving home from London about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had some, I think it might have been Late Junction on the radio, and I heard this song by some Africans, and they were singing the chorus. They just appeared to be singing "The Night," and it was really there was something really powerful about that. And just those two words, "The Night," you know. And then I looked it up later, and they weren't singing the night at all. They were singing something completely different in African, which sounded like the night. So the seed had been planted, the idea for a song just called "The Night," and the imagery in the song I know comes largely from Edward Hopper, the artist, the American artist. And there's a famous painting which I have. I did a song about another one of his paintings, Nighthawks at the Diner. But this case, this is one that I have in my room, and it's a picture of a petrol pump attendant, and it's kind of dusk, and he's I think he's actually filling up a tank or something, and it's very evocative, like all of Edward Hopper's paintings. It's very evocative, and you know, you kind of make up your own story. So I sort of did, and so the petrol pump attendant in this song comes from that painting, and a lot of the sort of imagery comes from Edward Hopper, I suppose. So here you are. This is "The Night," and I'll see you again next week. Bye bye. Take care.
Runs like a ribbon to the sky, red and silver lights go flashing by. A truck stop sign reads food and drink to go. A weary waitress tunes the radio. A trucker's pumping gas beneath the trees, where night birds sing their ancient melodies. A heron skims the surface of a lake, and hunters of the darkness come away. Engine softly purrs in the parking lot. Lovers tangled in a lover's knot. He whispers little truths and little lies. Her heart knows but she believes him with her eyes. The tires squeal and the sirens scream, and the widowed woman weeps, and the drunkard sings and the jackpot rings in a town that never sleeps. Oh,
Yorkshire night was freezing, the ice beneath her feet, as Lily waited quietly in the cold. Her headscarf wrapped around her, her blue coat buttoned neatly, Lily cast her shadow long on Hazel Road. The galley boy